The story commences with an orphan crossing into a parallel world, featuring a happy and harmonious family. 12 years have passed, and Gao Yang finally realizes how terrifying this world is. On this day, he's frantically pedaling his bike because he's about to be late for school. At the corner, suddenly, someone pops out and knocks him down. He hears the person in the hospital gown, now on the ground, muttering,
"Monsters. It's all monsters.
Then he asks, "Are you okay?" But the patient screams in terror.
They will eat you."
Suddenly, they notice something lurking nearby, but in the blink of an eye, there's nothing there. The patient snaps back, urgently telling Gao Yang.
"Remember, don't trust anyone."
But before he could finish, his head was hit by a bullet, and he fell to the ground. Moments later, several police officers quickly surrounded them. One of the police officers informs him that the patient had escaped from a mental hospital and is considered highly dangerous. Fortunately, nothing tragic happened. But Gao Yang still feels very strange. There was clearly something hiding in the alley just now. But when he went in, he found only a stray cat. Finally, Gao Yang is escorted back to school. Are there really monsters in this world? Even while in class at school, Gao Yang ponders this question. He still remembers when he was a child. Strange beastly words echoing from his grandfather's room. The next day, his grandfather passed away, and he thought it was just a nightmare. Unfortunately, just as he was thinking about this, the teacher caught him daydreaming, and he could only awkwardly stand up to answer the teacher's question. When he was at a loss for how to respond to the teacher's question, someone behind him provided him with the answer. Gao Yang confidently tells the teacher the answer to the question is option C. The teacher looks displeased at Li Weiwei, who sits behind Gao Yang, and says,
"Can you still give him the answers during exams? As punishment, both of you will stay behind after school to clean the classroom and the restroom."
After school, while cleaning the windows, Gao Yang turns to Li Weiwei and says, "Weiwei, I'm sorry for dragging you into this." But Weiwei replies,
"It's okay. You've always taken care of me since we were young. It's my turn this time."
Then she starts comforting Gao Yang.
"The incident with the psychiatric patient attacking you this morning has spread. If you're feeling down, don't keep it to yourself. Remember, you have me."
Gao Yang and Li Weiwei are childhood sweethearts. Gao Yang has always had feelings for Weiwei but has never confessed them. Just as the two are about to lean in for a kiss, Qinling, Weiwei's best friend, suddenly appears and interrupts them, saying,
"What are you guys doing?"
They are puzzled as to why Qinling suddenly appeared here. Qinling explains that the teacher is looking for Weiwei and needs her to go to the office. After Weiwei leaves, Qinling approaches Gao Yang and asks,
"I heard you encountered a psychiatric patient today. Are you okay?"
Gao Yang replies, "I'm fine. Just a shame that my newly bought bike got damaged." But Qinling sneers,
"I think you were scared out of your wits. That's why you were daydreaming in class and got Weiwei punished with you."
Faced with these words, Gao Yang is unsure how to respond. Qinling continues,
"Tell me about what happened today. I'm very interested in strange occurrences."
Qinling, who usually ignores Gao Yang, behaves unusually today. Leaving Gao Yang puzzled, she begins to corner Gao Yang against the wall and says something similar to what Weiwei said earlier.
"If you have any doubts, you can also talk to me. I care about you."
Faced with her strange behavior, Gao Yang begins to wonder if Qinling might have developed feelings for him. Just as Qinling gets closer to Gao Yang and he doesn't know what to say, Li Weiwei finally returns. She asks,
"The teacher wasn't in the office. What did he want with me?"
Qinling can only leave the classroom and explain to Weiwei.
"He probably just wanted to remind you both not to forget to clean the restroom."
Weiwei complains.
"That's it. He made me go there for nothing."
Shortly after, Qinling leaves on her own, while Gao Yang is still relieved that their intimate behavior just now wasn't seen by Li Weiwei. On the way home, the two happily plan where to go for the weekend. Suddenly, Gao Yang feels someone is following them nearby and shouts, "Who's there?" But the two only spot a crow, and Weiwei expresses concern, saying,
"Gao Yan, are you okay? You seem distracted all day today."
Gao Yang feels very sorry for this, and Weiwei continues to comfort him. He takes her hand, hesitantly saying, "Weiwei, I have some scary suspicions. I feel like there are monsters around us. Their arms are covered in grayish-blue scales. Those scales are like tightly packed insects, wriggling and squirming as if alive. They seem to be constantly peering at me, peering at everything around me."
"Oh my God."
Weiwei exclaims, as if in disbelief. Gao Yang continues, sometimes I feel like it's all in my imagination, like my memories are getting mixed up, but those images are as vivid as a movie slideshow, making me doubt its reality. Wei, I know what I'm saying sounds unbelievable. You don't have to believe me, but no matter what happens, you must protect yourself. Gao Yang expects Wei to think he's talking nonsense, but to his surprise, Wei believes him. She gently touches his face and says,
Gao Yan, I believe every word you say. I believe you saw the monster's arms. Look, is it like this?
Gao Yang, being choked by the transformed Wei, struggles to call her name, unable to believe what is happening before his eyes. Wei, excitedly, says,
Gao Yan, you're the first awakener I've encountered. I'll never forget you.
Gao Yang feels extremely confused, wondering why Wei would be a monster. Just as his consciousness starts to blur, and he thinks he is about to die, a system interface suddenly appears out of nowhere. The system displays the system is awaiting activation. Simply touching this interface will activate it successfully. This may be Gao Yang's only way out now. Wei grips his neck tightly, still exclaiming excitedly.
Gao Yan, your blood, your beating heart, they're so delicious, so tempting, amazing.
Meanwhile, Gao Yang finds that no matter how he reaches out, he can't touch the system. Wei's tongue inches closer to Gao Yang, and she begins to confess.
I like you. Gao Yan, I love you. I want to eat you up. One bite at a time. Can I? You want me to be happy, don't you?
Hearing such words, Gao Yang breaks out in a cold sweat, and he can only struggle to say, okay, but don't squeeze too hard. It won't be fresh if I'm dead. Monster Wei finds his reasoning sound and loosens her grip slightly on Gao Yang's neck. And in that moment, Gao Yang finally manages to touch the system interface. The system activates, and user information begins loading. His system interface with personal information finally appears. The crucial details displayed indicate that Gao Yang's status is awakened. His talent is luck, his talent serial number is 199, and his rune type is miracle. But Gao Yang doesn't pay particular attention to this information. He just wants to know what this system is for, and whether it can save his life right now. What greatly disappoints Gao Yang is that the system he had pinned his hopes on cannot save him. The system displays that his innate talent, luck, is a passive attribute that cannot be directly utilized. Soon after, the system access ends, and the system automatically becomes hidden. As he is about to be consumed, he feels deeply resentful and puzzled. He doesn't understand what's happening in this world. Why Wei, of all people, is a monster? Suddenly, Wei coughs up blood and releases her tight grip on Gao Yang's neck, her entire body collapsing to the ground. Gao Yang turns around to see Wei's body impaled by a long sword, murmuring intermittently,
Why, you were mine.
A hand pulls the sword out of Wei's body, and Gao Yang realizes that the person who saved him is actually Qingling. Qingling completely conceals the sword, making it disappear entirely. Gao Yang is greatly surprised and asks, is this your ability? Ignoring Gao Yang's question, Qingling admonishes,
Don't ask anything. Go home immediately. I've destroyed the nearby surveillance. Tonight's events have nothing to do with you. Remember that.
With lingering doubts in his mind, Gao Yang is abruptly interrupted by Qingling's loud voice.
I'm asking you, did you remember?
Gao Yang can only respond, I remember. It has nothing to do with me. And she quickly departs. Gao Yang returns home, continuously pondering over the events that just unfolded. He feels like he is in a dream. Yet everything seems so real. Wei turns out to be a monster, which means that their relationship from childhood to adulthood was all a lie. Gao Yang still can't understand what's happening in this world. As Gao Yang continues to ponder over the events, a voice from outside the window interrupts his thoughts. Subconsciously, he asks, who's there? The next moment, Qingling enters Gao Yang's room from outside the window. Upon seeing Qingling, Gao Yang immediately voices his inner doubts. Tell me, what's going on with Wei? Has she mutated, or is she infected with some new type of zombie virus?
Stop talking.
Qingling silences him, pushing Gao Yang onto the bed and removing her own jacket. Once again, he fails to understand Qingling's actions and can only weakly ask, what are you trying to do? Gao Yang recalls the strange events involving Qingling at school and can't help but think. Again, she was acting weird at school. What does she want? Suddenly, Qingling asks,
Tell me, do you like boys or girls?
Gao Yang instinctively responds, girls. Having received the answer, Qinling straightforwardly says.
All right, let's get started then.
As soon as she finishes speaking, she begins to remove her shirt. Gao Yang still doesn't understand Qingling's intentions and interrupts her, saying, wait, start what? Qingling retorts.
Alone together. What else could we do? Don't act so innocent.
Gao Yang is speechless after everything that just happened. He can't believe things are progressing to this point with Qingling. Feeling uneasy about the situation, he nervously tells Qingling to stop. No, this isn't right. Qingling observes his reaction and thinks to herself.
He's quite guarded.
However, her body continues to draw closer to Gao Yang. Then she takes it a step further, her fingers lightly tracing Gao Yang's abdomen as she asks,
Is this okay? If you don't like me, you can imagine someone else's face.
Gao Yang finally succumbs to the seduction, his body responding. But in the next moment, he can't help but wonder, is she intentionally seducing me to lower my guard? Could Qingling also be one of those monsters, saving me just to have me all to herself? But he dismisses this thought. If that were the case, she could have just attacked him directly. There's no need for all this elaborate setup. Gao Yang firmly says, Qingling, stop it. However, she continues to touch his body and confidently states,
I can feel it. There's a reaction.
Gao Yang retorts, that's obvious. Qingling then gets off the bed, dresses herself, and says,
All right.
what are you even doing? Gao Yang continues to ask. Gao Yang's hand accidentally touches a dagger lying beside the bed. Immediately, Qingling uses her ability to summon the dagger back to her hand. Gao Yang breaks out in a cold sweat, asking, were you trying to kill me just now? Qingling replies coldly.
That depends on you.
Gao Yang remains perplexed as Qingling hurls the dagger towards him, continuing,
If you don't react, then you'll have to die. Monsters don't have real reproductive systems.
Qingling explains. As Gao Yang catches the dagger, he recalls Wei Wei, the monster, and memories of his grandfather from his childhood. As Qingling summons back the dagger, she says,
The monster you encountered today is a wrathful beast. There are many kinds of monsters, and this is just one of them. They are adept at disguising themselves, blending in seamlessly among us.
Later, Qingling throws a bottle of medicine to Gao Yang, saying,
It's a special medicine that can accelerate wound healing.
Gao Yang happily accepts the bottle of medicine, saying, there's medicine like this. Qingling, could you enlighten me? Before he could finish his sentence, he realizes Qingling has already left, leaving him to sigh. It seems like this world holds many secrets. The next moment, he worries again. Wei Wei is dead. Really dead. What's the deal with these monsters? And why did I end up in a world like this? What's the use of that system talent anyway? But what I should be more concerned about is how to avoid suspicion from the police tomorrow. The next morning, Gao Yang arrives at school to find his classmates discussing rumors about Li Weiwei possibly being killed last night. Gao Yang turns around and sees Qingling asking,
Gao Yan, where's Li Weiwei?
He stammers, I don't know. Qingling continues to ask.
Were you two supposed to go back together yesterday?
Qingling says worriedly.
She's not answering her phone, not replying to messages, and she's almost late. What's going on?
Meanwhile, Gao Yang wonders why she saved me last night only to tell me to keep quiet. But today she's continuously questioning me. Could she be trying to make me proactively clear myself of suspicion? With this in mind, Gao Yang replies, we went home separately last night. It's strange as she hasn't shown up yet, especially at this hour. As class begins, the teacher announces an important piece of news.
Today, I have something to tell everyone. Our classmate Li Weiwei was murdered.
The most significant reactions come from Gao Yang and Qingling. They both stand up in disbelief, with Gao Yang loudly exclaiming, we were together just yesterday. How is this possible? The teacher explains.
Calm down, both of you. It seems like Li Weiwei encountered a robber and unfortunately was killed.
As the classmates discuss the news, Gao Yang covers his face, expressing regret. It's all my fault. I didn't walk her home.
All right, let's not discuss this further for now. Qingling, Gao Yang, both of you come to my office. The police want to ask you some questions.
On the way to the office, Gao Yang finds an opportunity to quietly speak to Qingling. Qingling, let's get our story straight. The sudden question puzzles her.
What do you mean by get our story straight?
Gao Yang nervously replies, Stop pretending. It's just the two of us now. Qingling angrily retorts.
Who's pretending here? You're really suspicious. You didn't even walk Wei Wei home last night. I suspect you're involved. I'm going to report you to the police.
Gao Yang watches her leave and thinks to himself, what's her deal? Acting all weird. The two arrive at the office, and Qingling eagerly speaks up.
Is it Officer Huang? Officer, I want to report this guy.
Officer Huang listens to her words and responds, reporting. Well then, let's do this. You two tell your story separately. Gao Yang, you come with me first. At this moment, Gao Yang feels extremely nervous, constantly thinking to himself, what's going on? Could Qingling be trying to shift all the blame onto me in the now empty office with only the two of them? Officer Huang first tries to calm Gao Yang down before asking about the injuries on his face. The officer's seemingly casual questions are actually probing Gao Yang, making him cautious in his responses. Gao Yang touches his neck and explains that he was bitten by insects. Officer Huang agrees. Yes, indeed, there have been quite a lot of mosquitoes lately. Then Officer Huang changes the subject and asks, I heard that the deceased, Li Weiwei, and you were childhood friends. It seems she even defended you in class. It seems like you two had a good relationship. Did she have feelings for you? More accurately, she liked you, didn't she? Maybe, I guess, replied Dao Yan, not entirely sure, as he couldn't distinguish anymore whether it was affection or twisted desire from Wei Wei. Officer Huang then inquired, last night, after cleaning up, you walked a long way together, and you were already very close to her house, but strangely, you didn't accompany her for the final stretch. Why is that? Officer Huang looked at him. Explain it, Gao Yang. Gao Yang calmed his inner unease and spoke. For the last stretch, Wei Wei told me not to accompany her. She said she didn't want her family to see us together and start nagging her. Wei Wei's family had strict rules, and even though they had a close relationship, being in the final year of high school meant her family prioritized their studies. Gao Yang's explanation seemed flawless given these circumstances. Officer Huang looked at the information in his hand as he thought, I see, that seems plausible. Next, Gao Yang asked actively, Officer Huang, if I insist on taking her home, Wei Wei, will she not die? Officer Huang then comforted, life is full of surprises. Many things are unavoidable. Gao Yang felt that Officer Huang was starting to believe him somewhat, but it was still not enough. So he continued, what about the surveillance footage? It should be easy to find the culprit this way. Officer Huang expressed helplessness, saying, to be honest, the surveillance along the route where you separated happened to be malfunctioning. Gao Yang felt extremely fortunate for Qingling's efforts in tampering with the surveillance, but he pretended to be surprised and exclaimed, what a coincidence. The surveillance malfunctioned just after we separated. By raising doubts again, he hoped to distance himself and lessen suspicion. Officer Huang, feeling a headache from the case, rubbed his temples and said, so I feel it's premeditated crime, very likely perpetrated by someone familiar, but we have no leads, can't even locate the suspect or the murder weapon. The conversation ended, and Officer Huang stood up, patting Gao Yang's shoulder. Let's call it a day for now. Take care. If you feel like crying, just cry. Don't hold it in. Gao Yang expressed deep gratitude, but he couldn't cry. For the sake of staying alive, for the sake of the truth, he had to remain calm and composed, even if it meant forcibly locking away his emotions for Wei Wei in the deepest corner of his heart. As evening approached at 7 o'clock, at Wei Wei's funeral, listening to the cries of her family, Gao Yang truly wished this was just a nightmare, but this nightmare felt too real. Who is the real Wei Wei? The quiet, shy girl, or the monster-like wrathful beast? Who will tell Gao Yang the answer? Gao Yang was lost in thought when Qingling appeared, taking his hand and leading him to a nearby lounge. She asked,
How did the officers question you?
Gao Yang answered her question and pointed out her strange behavior earlier in the morning, saying, regarding the time and location, it shouldn't be suspicious of me. It's you who was shouting about reporting me this morning. Did you overact a bit? Qingling drank water as she explained.
Have you met her? My other personality.
Gao Yang suddenly realized, you have a split personality. No wonder you were acting so strangely this morning. Qingling listened with a somber expression and said,
To survive in this world, I even have to deceive myself. Over time, a second personality emerged. She's my sister. Most of the time it's me, but sometimes she doesn't listen and takes over the consciousness on her own.
Faced with this version of Qingling, Daoyang fell into an inexplicable panic. Can I trust what you're saying? Qingling countered with a question.
Then who else would you trust? Do you know how many monsters are in the city? The ratio is 1 in 10,000.
Daoyang's expression turned sorrowful. 1 in 10,000 people is a monster. Why did it have to be Wei Wei? Qingling corrected him.
No, it's the other way around. It's 1 person among 10,000 monsters.
What? How is that possible? I don't believe it. Daoyang exclaimed in shock, thinking Qingling was joking. Qingling calmly explained.
Your family, friends, neighbors, and 99% of people you've encountered in your life are, without exception, monsters. It's a very rare event for you to encounter someone like me.
Daoyang felt like his worldview was collapsing. Almost everyone around him was a monster. Daoyang still couldn't believe it and objected. No, that's not right. If everyone around me is a monster, then as a human, wouldn't I have died long ago?
Because you've never noticed their existence before. Monsters won't harm humans who are unaware. They only target those who are awakened. People like us, who know some of the truths of the world.
Daoyang's inner turmoil made it hard for him to stay calm. He muttered to himself, tapping his head. What's the reason?
Who knows? They seem to operate by their own set of rules. I don't have much information on that.
Qingling had not finished explaining when the sound of the door interrupted her. Officer Huang walked in with a puzzled expression. What are you talking about? What are you talking about with the monsters?